You bet.
Okay. How far would you go to do the right thing? Would you stand up for what you knew was right, even if doing so meant you could be put to death? Today I'm going to share the story of Esther, a girl who risked her life to save thousands of people. Queen Esther in the Bible, for those of you who don't know. Little is actually known about her very early years. According to Ritna Socha in his 2003 essay, Queen Esther, she was believed to be born around 522 BC in Persia, which is located in modern-day Iran. According to the King James Version of the Bible, as printed in 1985 by Thomas Nelson Publishers, Xerxes took the throne of Persia when Esther was about 12 years old. 2 years later, Xerxes threw a 187-day party to exhibit his wealth for all the nobles in his kingdom. On the last day of his party, Xerxes ordered his wife, Queen Vashti, to come before them so he could show her off. She refused, and that angered Xerxes. So he, being hindered by the alcohol that he'd been consuming for the past 186 days, because he had it free for everyone to come to the party, he rashly decided to banish his wife from his kingdom for the rest of her life. After his hangover, he was really lonely. He realized that. So he decided to choose a new wife. He held the first beauty pageant ever recorded in history, and he sent out officials to invite all the most beautiful virgins to be in this beauty pageant. According to Elizabeth Fletcher, in the Esther chapter of her online book, Women in the Bible, first published in 1997, all the virgins had to go through 1 year of primping up before they could actually go in to see the king. So after Esther's year, she went into the throne room, and the king was so awestruck by her beauty that he just immediately placed the royal crown on her head. Didn't say anything, just picked it up and put it on her head. He threw another party to celebrate his marriage. This one was a little bit shorter. But Esther's uncle, Mordecai, he was invited to the wedding, but they didn't know he was her uncle. He was just all the townspeople were invited to come to this big wedding. And so while he was there, he overheard some guards plotting to kill the king. Mordecai warned Esther, who in turn told the king, and Mordecai's deed was inscribed in the kingdom's official books. The king's second in command at this time was a man named Haman. Haman hated Mordecai because Mordecai refused to bow down to him whenever he was walking in the streets. Because of this, Haman decided to kill all the Jews in the kingdom. This was the first act ever recorded of anti-Semitism, which instigated World War II, the Holocaust, all that stuff. Since he already had the king's signet ring with his little seal on it, Haman wrote a royal decree that commanded all the people in the kingdom to just completely demolish the Jewish race in exactly 1 year. Mordecai heard the decree and took off all his clothes, rubbed ash all over his body, and wore a sackcloth and just went into mourning. He was wailing in front of the palace gates. So of course Esther hears it and goes out there and talks to him. And she didn't know about the decree, but she heard about it from him. And so she's like, oh my gosh, just tell all the Jews in the city to go into 3 days of fasting and praying. Don't eat anything, just pray. So Esther does the same thing, and on the third day, she dons her prettiest little gown and goes into the throne room. And at this time, if you walk into the throne room without being asked by the king, he can just chop off your head completely. So Esther goes in there, and he holds out his little golden scepter, and so she can walk in. And she's like, King, just save my people. I want you to save my people. Me and all my people are sentenced to be killed. And he's like, what are you talking about? Who would dare to kill the king or the queen? And she's like, oh, it's Haman. And Haman was in the throne by the time because he was the second in command. So the king's like, oh my gosh. So Haman gets killed and put on a stick, a 70-foot tall stick, and put out in the middle of the city so everyone could see it and know not to anger the king. Then Esther explains the whole situation to the king, and the king places Mordecai as his second in command, and Mordecai then writes a new decree, because you can't take back a king's decree, so he writes a new decree that says that on this day that all the Jews were going to be killed, the Jews can fight back. They can all band together and fight back. So because of Esther's courage and conviction, she saved an entire race of people, and she grew closer to her husband and her God.